Welcome back, everyone. This is lesson 2 of Miss Teacher, where I help you increase and improve your conversational English skills with singing in a matter of 3 weeks. I am Miss Teacher. I hope everyone is having a good day. We are going to be learning the theme song from a popular television show that ran from the 1960s to the 1970s. The way it works is that for the first 2 weeks, you have traditional English learning lessons, but with vocabulary and grammar that come from the song. During the last week, we learn the song and break down the meaning of the song so that you are able to sing it and understand what you are singing. This is lesson 2 of a 3-week course, so if you haven't taken lesson 1, click the link in the description box and begin there. Let's get started. Repeat after me. Chores. Chores. Penthouse. Penthouse. Acre. Acre. Manhattan. Manhattan. Stay. Stay. Okay, so let's go back over those again. Chores. Do you know what chores are? Chores are those tasks or those things that we have to do as our responsibilities around the house. If we live on a farm, our responsibilities are usually farm related, like cleaning up after the animals, um, mowing the grass, milking the animals, things like that. Around the house, they can be washing the dishes, sweeping the floors, and so on and so forth. So, what are some chores that you would have to do on a farm? Okay, I just discussed those: feeding the animals, milk the cows or the goats, collect the eggs. What else would you have to do? Okay, very good. Now we have penthouse. Do you know what a penthouse is? If you notice, there is a city view. You see many buildings, but also you can see that we are looking at the tops of the buildings. So a penthouse is a very fancy apartment in a high-rise building. It's usually in a big city. They are known to be much larger than the average apartment, and they are on the top floor. They can have many fancy amenities, such as a private pool, like you see in this picture, and many more. Would you like to live in a penthouse? Or do you already live in a penthouse? This word here is acre. Acre. It is a measurement for land. It is about 4,000 square meters or 43,000 square feet. So when you're talking about large pieces of land, we measure them in acres in the United States. I want to buy a few acres of land so that I can start a farm, is how you would use that word. So in order to start a farm, you would need lots of land, or you would need acres of land. And here we have Manhattan. What is Manhattan? Manhattan is a very well-known borough or county of New York City. Mhm. In Manhattan, you will find some iconic places like Central Park, the Statue of Liberty, and the Empire State Building. Stay is another word for live. Do you think you can use the word stay in a sentence? It's like live. So you could say, where do you stay? Mostly we say, where do you live? So I want you to answer that question. Where do you stay? Answer it using the word stay. If you didn't answer with the city, now you can answer with the city. So, for example, I can say, I stay in New York. I stay in Los Angeles. So, I'm going to ask you, where do you stay? And then if I were to ask you for the country, how would you answer that? You can say, I stay in Bolivia. I stay in the United States. I stay in Switzerland. Okay? So that's how you use that word. And I want to let you know that I will be starting a membership soon where you will get ad-free video lessons and vocabulary puzzles for the lessons. So make sure you prepare to be a part of that membership to enhance your learning experience. You're going to love it. And I want to let you know that I will be starting a membership soon where you will get ad-free video lessons and vocabulary puzzles for the lessons. So make sure you prepare to be a part of that membership to enhance your full learning experience. I'll be telling you a little bit more as we get into more lessons, but you're going to love it. Okay, so what's the word for this picture here? What do we see? I talked about tall buildings and seeing the tops of the buildings. Here is a very nice large swimming pool. That must be for the community, right? Well, it just might be for that individual apartment. Yes, that is a penthouse. It's very large, right? It looks expensive. This is the picture for a penthouse. And what is the vocabulary word associated with this picture? Looks like a big city. We talked about a county in New York. What is this place? Manhattan. That's correct. What are some famous landmarks located in Manhattan? Okay, Central Park. What else? The Empire State Building and the Statue of Liberty. Very good. Oh, it looks like some land here and it's divided into different pieces. What is this here? These are measurements of land. What do we call these large pieces of land? An acre. So if we had more than one, how would we pronounce it? Acres. You simply add an S. Good. And this one here, what's happening? It looks like she's folding and putting away clothes. So what is this word? Which word is associated with this picture? Chore. Very good. Which chore do you like the least? So, and last one here. What is the word for this picture? Stay. Very good. What does it mean? Live. Correct. So now we are going to, we have the words only. I'll show you the word and you tell me what the word is. What is this word? Penthouse. Yep, the fancy apartment. And this one? Acres, or a singular acre, the measurement of land. And this one here. Chores, those tasks or responsibilities that you have to do around the house or around the farm. And this one here. Stay. Yep, another word for live. Stay. Yep, another word for live. And Manhattan, what is that? It's an area or a part of New York City. Very good. Okay, so now we have the spelling. And what I'd like to offer you is a free study guide for the lesson. And if you click the link in the description box, you will learn how to have one sent to you. Now, these study guides will be free with the membership, but I'd like to send you one now. So go ahead and get yours. And we're going to go on to our spelling. Okay, we have a picture here. This should be familiar. But do you know the correct spelling? So let's take a look at it. You tell me if the correct spelling is A, B, C, or D. Let's find out. Okay, we see the correct spelling is C. Stay. There is no I in stay. There is only one A and no E at the end. Now we have penthouse. It is usually a large, expensive apartment or condo with many amenities. What is the correct way to spell it? Is it A, B, C, or D? Let's take a look. The correct answer is D. House is spelled House, so it can't be A. And then there is no I in penthouse. And then we do have a T. So that correct answer would be D. Now we see that this place is Manhattan, but which is the correct way to spell it? Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, the correct answer is A. There are only two N's in Manhattan, not three. Actually, there are two T's, so C can't be right either. And there is no E in Manhattan. This looks familiar, and we see what the word is, but what's the right way to spell it? Is it A, B, C, or D? What are you thinking? The correct answer is B. The R is before E in acre. That makes it a little different. In most words in English, the E is before R. And then there is no K in acre. And the last spelling word for this lesson, this is chores. Regardless of where you live, the city or the country, there are always many chores to do. How do you spell it? Is it A, B, C, or D? Let's take a look. The correct answer is C. There is only one O in chores, and the O is before the E. Also, there is no A. Okay, very good. Now we have more pronunciation. We're going to look at three different ways to say the air sound. As you see on the slide, we have three different words, all spelled completely different. But all of these words make the same sound. They make the air sound. Repeat the words after me. Air, air, square, square, there, there. So you may have noticed that they all make the same air sound, even though they have different spellings. So we have some more of the same words. Let's sound them out together. If the first word starts with a C, what do you think that word is? Care. Repeat. Care. And if the next one starts with an R, Then how do you pronounce that word? Yes, it's rare. Rare. This one begins with the D. So how would you say this one? Yes, dare. Dare. The next set of words are AIR words, but the sound is the same. So how do you pronounce the next one? Hair. Very good. Hair. And if the ST here makes the st sound, then what is this one? Stare. Good. Stare. And the next one, fair, fair. And the last one, it looks different, it has different vowels, but it sounds the same. So if the WH makes the W sound, then what is this word? Can you get it? Yes, it's where. Well done. Now we have a grammar lesson. Conversational English is more relaxed than formal English. Conversational English is used every day and is what is heard in music, television, and movies. In colloquial language or conversational English, the words are not only pronounced differently, but they are spelled differently sometimes. In most cases, the alternate spellings are widely accepted. One of the ways that formal English becomes conversational is by dropping the G at the end of the ing words and adding an apostrophe. So we have a few words here. We have the word living. This is an ing word, living. So you take off that G and then you add an apostrophe, or you change the G into an apostrophe. And now living becomes livin'. You shorten it. This is a very popular way to pronounce words in songs. Now we have another ing word, giving. Giving. Giving becomes given. So do you see how that works? Living becomes livin', giving becomes given, and darling becomes darlin'. So it's just a more relaxed, comfortable way of speaking. So if you see a word spelled this way, it's not necessarily misspelled. These are the same words but spelled and pronounced the regular way. They are breaking, breaking, making, making, taking, taking, shaking, shaking. Those have the G on the end and are pronounced slightly different. Those are the formal way or the correct way to say them. Okay, so now we are going to have a listening exercise. Notice that there are two sets of words. One is spelled the traditional way with ing, and the other is spelled with an apostrophe instead of a G. I'm going to say one of the words, and you tell me which word I'm saying, the first one or the second one. All right, are you ready? Let's go. Singing, singing. That's the second one. Jumping, jumping. The second one. Living, living. That's the first one. Loving, loving. The second one. If you notice, you don't hear the G on the end. It's like it's cut off. It's more cut off on the end. Now we have loving. We just did that one. Are you familiar with McDonald's slogan? It's I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So it's not loving it. I'm loving it. It's I'm loving it. And loving is actually spelled the way the second word on the slide is spelled, with no G and an apostrophe in McDonald's slogan. So the next one, checking. Checking, the first one. And talking. Talking, that's the second one. Hating. Hating, the second one. And that is why they use in conversational English. It's more like slang. If someone is being jealous, we call them a hater. And in that moment that they're being jealous, we say that they are hating. But of course, we say it the conversational way. And hating becomes hating. So if you hear someone say, stop hating, they are saying, stop being jealous. Or whatever you're doing, just stop hating. Okay? And the next one, doing. Doing, that's the second one. And after that, giving. Giving, that's the first one. Next, working. Working, the first one. And then sitting. Sitting, the second one. You can say someone is sitting around doing nothing. Sitting around doing nothing. That's three in one sentence. Sitting, doing, and nothing. And if you take the G off, they become sitting, doing, nothing. You got it? All right. And then the last one, eating. Eating. That's the first one. Okay, very good. And we have another lesson. One way to express your preference in English is to use the phrase, I'd rather. I'd rather. I'd is a contraction of two words, I and would. So instead of saying I would, you can say I'd. I'd rather. So if someone were to ask you if you want an apple or an orange, you can respond by saying, I'd rather have an orange. I'd rather have an apple. You're telling them what your preference is. My preference is an apple. My preference is an orange. I'd rather have an apple. I'd rather have an orange. So now it says to answer the following questions aloud. Would you rather live in the city or the countryside? So tell me your preference. To answer this question, you'd say, I'd rather live in the city, or I'd rather live in the country. So I'll ask you again. Would you rather live in the city or the country or the countryside? Okay, very good. And now we're going to move on. Would you rather do chores or go shopping? How would you start? You would say, I'd rather, and then you would tell me if it's do chores or go shopping. All right, and the next one. Would you rather live in a large house or a penthouse? Would you rather live in a large house or a penthouse? How would you answer this one correctly? Okay, you should have said, I would rather live in a large house. Or you would have said, I would rather live in a penthouse. And the last one, would you rather go to a fancy department store or feed horses hay? Would you rather go to a fancy department store or feed horses hay? Okay, very good. And for this slide here, answer these questions about what others prefer. So your grandfather asks you if you want to go to a football or a basketball game for your birthday. How do you respond? So I'm going to play the role of your grandfather, and I'm going to ask you, do you want to go to a football or a basketball game for your birthday? How do you answer using rather? I'd rather. So you would say one of these two things. You would say, Grandpa, I'd rather go to a football game, or I'd rather go to a basketball game. Okay? So now he's asking, what does your sister prefer? So he's asking, which does your sister want? How would you answer that? You would speak for your sister to answer that. You would start by saying, she'd rather, right? Remember the contractions? She would rather or she'd rather. So to answer correctly, you can say, she'd rather go to a football game, or she'd rather go to a basketball game. Now, if you need to rewind this, feel free to do so that you can understand the lesson. And now Grandpa asks, and your parents, what about them? What about them means that he's asking the same question concerning your parents. First he asked, what does your sister prefer? And now he's saying, and what about your parents? He's asking, what does your parents prefer? To answer that question, you would tell him what they prefer. And so the correct pronoun for parents is they. So you would say, they'd rather go to a football game, or they'd rather stay at home. Okay? And then Grandpa asked, what about your brother? How would you answer that one? You answer, he'd rather go to a football game. He'd rather go to a basketball game. He'd rather go to a golf match. Okay? So that's how you would use rather with the contractions. All right, guys, that is our lesson for today. If you have any comments about what you've learned today, write them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can be notified of lesson 3 for this course. You want to get all of the lessons so that you can sing the song and have fun doing it. It was good meeting with you again, and I will see you next lesson.